Grieving the death of a loved one is one of the most complex processes that our brain possibly has to go through and comprehend throughout the span of our life. If not to say the most complex process, because it is so incredibly hard and unimaginable for our brain to understand that a person is no longer with us. So understanding that this type of crisis is completely different to most crises that we will ever face in life, because there is no final solution, is so important when you are trying to help somebody grieve. And the fact that you're watching this video already shows that you care so much about that person who's lost somebody. And for that, I want to applaud you, because the fact that you are just trying to take care of them by watching videos like this is already an amazing thing to do. This entire video is going to be based on my experience and the way my friends were handling me, I guess, through this situation, because honestly, they couldn't have done it any better. And if you're watching this and you are one of my close friends, then I love you so very much. And without you, this time would have been impossible for me. Let's not mess around and get started right away with the do's of helping somebody to grieve. Understand that everybody grieves in different ways. Maybe you have been grieving before and now you're looking for those exact same signs in that person that you are trying to help. However, it is crucial to remember that there are so many different ways of grieving, and you're gonna have one person that just does not stop crying 24 hours a day. You're gonna have another person that maybe seems completely normal, but really inside of them, there's a lot of things happening. Then you could have another person who's constantly trying to make jokes and so forth. So completely leaving the judgment of how they should be doing it behind, and just realizing that no matter how they do it, that is the right way for them. Moving on to the second point. Ask if they want to talk about that person that passed away or just their grieving process in general, because I have really found that a lot of people kind of just ignore the whole subject. It's as if nothing really happened, but there's this thing that it's almost like an unspoken, weird, underlying, let's just skip it kind of thing. And you're just talking about really random, normal stuff. And then I was saying to one of my friends how it's so interesting how with a lot of friends, I just don't talk about it at all, like about my mom and about things that have happened with her and sharing stories and my whole process and the way I am. And here's something incredibly interesting. She responded that she once had a friend that did not ever want to talk about these kind of things. And that friend, she had asked if she wants to talk about her dad, to which the friend responded, absolutely not. And so now she assumed that I was probably similar to the friend and don't want to talk about it at all either, which for me wasn't the case at all. And then right away she apologized and she was like, oh God, of course we can talk about your mom, and of course I want to talk to you about this process. I just thought that you didn't want to. So don't just assume, maybe based on a previous experience that you've had, that that person just doesn't want to talk about it or does want to talk about it all the time, but rather just ask them directly, hey, how are you going with this process? Or would you rather just completely talk about other stuff and help me distract you? It's a really simple, direct question, but it will get you very, very far. Thirdly, just have an open ear for them and be there no matter what there is to talk about, and even if there's nothing to talk about at all. I honestly found it so helpful for my friends just to be there at times. And sometimes we didn't talk at all. We were just on the phone, or we would just sit together, and them simply being there and knowing that I can talk to them at any time meant the absolute world to me. Because in those moments, somebody being there, even if it's for absolutely nothing, can really make the biggest difference. Number 4, check in with them on a regular basis, even if they don't reply. I know from my own experience that when I went through this grieving process, there was sometimes days or weeks where I wouldn't respond to people simply because I didn't have the energy, I didn't want to, or I simply just didn't feel like it. And all of my friends were so incredibly accepting, and the second that I would reply, even if 2 weeks had passed, they would answer back. For me, every time I got those messages that said, hey, I'm thinking about you, I miss you lots, or I love you lots, and sending you love and sending you strength, even if I didn't reply, it was like a recharge for my body and for my energy. It was so incredibly helpful, and I loved knowing that they are thinking about me, even if right now I didn't have the strength to do the same for them. So regular checkups with a simple "how are you?", "I miss you," "I'm thinking about you," and so forth makes a difference. Moving on to the next point, always be reachable. I know this isn't possible for everybody, but I can really tell you that in those moments that that person is going to need you, it is very helpful if you pick up the phone, because there is going to be times when they just have a complete breakdown. Maybe not everybody, but there's definitely a lot of people who will. And in those moments when you have nobody to reach, that can be incredibly painful. I know that for myself, no matter how long it took me to reply, the second I replied, my friends were there. And it made me so incredibly happy to know that no matter how low I go and no matter how painful it is going to be, there's always somebody that I can call and that I can talk to in the second that I need it. And with this point, we're already reaching our last and sixth point for this video, and that is to recognize how difficult this situation is. I personally had no idea how painful it could be to lose somebody, especially suddenly. I mean, it completely overwhelmed me. We've talked about it in a lot of videos now, and if you've been watching them, you know that this has been the biggest challenge of my life. And I really think that nobody should be underestimating losing a loved one. It's absolutely insane. The pain that you go through, everything that you go through, everything that comes with it is so overwhelming. And to never ever think that it's not as difficult as somebody might imagine, and especially if you haven't gone through it, just know, oh my goodness, it's so bad. It's horror. If you have gone through it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And then you're probably also a lot more understanding towards your friend or a family member that is going through this right now. And this is also incredibly important to remember for next week's video, where I'll be talking about all the not to do's when somebody that is close to you is going through the grieving process and you're trying to help them. That you really, considering the circumstances, gotta cut the person some slack, because this pain is like nothing there ever is going to be in your life. And going through it is just going to be a roller coaster of a million emotions. So just realize this is difficult, and no matter what things are maybe out of order and are not the way they're supposed to be, just be accepting and understanding. And like I just said, next week I'm going to share with you guys all the things that you should not be doing when you are trying to help somebody grieve.